Good morning and welcome back to LSAT Games. I am your host, Tim Raschuti, and we are doing a viewer request today. So, Tori Priest commented, I think I'll have a picture of that comment somewhere here, asking for a couple of the games from PrepTest 18. And these two games are notorious among LSAT preppers. These are some crazy games. Honestly, not especially likely that you're going to see a game like this these days. These are both pretty old and pretty weird, but it is useful to think through, how do we deal with a weird game if one pops up? How do we approach the setup? How do we approach the rules? How do we approach the diagram? The third game, which is the one I'm going to do right now, questions 14 through 19, you can see it on screen presumably. Although it's weird, it's actually not super weird. It's a mapping game, and we're going to build a map of some subway lines. But even for mapping games, it's a little weird in that we're not really deciding anything as we go. Basically, from the setup, we're going to figure out what the map is right away, and then the questions just take things away from that map as we go, or ask about different paths that are possible on that map. Let's go ahead and get into it. Greenberg has exactly 5 subway lines, L1, L2, L3, L4, and L5. Along each of the lines, trains run in both directions, stopping at every station. So again, on a classic game, L1, L2, L3, L4, L5 would be the elements that we then put in order or put in groups, and that's not what's going on here. Instead, the clues we're about to read describe each one of these loops for some stations, and if anything, the stations are more like the elements. For example, this first clue says, L1 runs in a loop connecting exactly 7 stations, their order being, okay, let's get these down in order, R, T, let's mark them off as we go so we don't miss any, F, S, U, Q, P, and then back to R. And again, that whole loop we're going to call L1. So we'll mark that name down just in case we need it in the future. L2 connects T with S and with no other station, so we have an additional connection right there. And again, we'll jot down the name just in case we need it. L3 connects R with U, so we're going to go all the way across there. That is L3. L4 runs from Q through exactly one other station, G. Interesting. Okay, so actually, let's move some things around here just a little bit. Q, wait, do we need to connect anything else with G? No, Q is just from R to this other station, G. And so that's going to be L4. And then finally, L5 connects Q with T and no other station. So then we have this one other kind of weird line, Q with T. I'm going to put that in there in another color just so it's a little more distinct. And that's L5. So there you have it. That is the map that we've built based off of these clues. And that's the map we're going to use now for all of the questions. Again, a little bit different here in that we're not arranging the stations along the map and we're not arranging the lines other than the arrangement we've already come up with, the map we've already built. When you do have a weird game like this, you want to look for specific questions, because specific questions are going to help you get into the game and kind of figure out what the kinds of things are that they're asking about. So I'm going to jump ahead here to number 16. If L3 is not running and a traveler goes by subway from U to R, making the fewest possible stops, which one of the following lists all of the intermediate stations in sequence along one of the routes that the traveler could take? So for 16, we want to go U to R. For 16, we're starting in U and we're ending in R. And we want to make the fewest possible stops, but again, line 3 is not available to us for this particular question. Well, clearly we could just go kind of this other direction, U to Q, and then I guess that would be Q to either G or P, and then that would get us to R. So actually, let's just list those out separately. U to Q to G to R, U to Q to P to R. And then what else is possible here? We could also go, we could even do U to Q to T to R. U to Q to T to R. What if we go the other direction? What if we come up here? U to S to T to R would also work. U to S to T to R. Are there any other ways to get from U to R in the fewest stops possible? UQGR, UQPR, UQTR. USTR. We don't want to go to station F. That's too far away. I think that's it. I think those are the only 4 possibilities. So QG, QP, QT, or ST. QT. There it is. Answer choice A. And just a quick check, though we really shouldn't. Does not look like any of our other possible routes are in the other possible answer choices. So that's it. 16 is A. Again, we're kind of working our way into the game. Let's jump down to 18. If the tracks that directly connect U and Q are blocked in both directions, traveler going from S to P and making the fewest possible intermediate stops must pass through blank. So similar kind of question, though this time we're trying to get from S to P. And what's the track we can't use? We can't use the U to Q track. Well, we could do S, U, R, P. So that's kind of following this path, S-U-R-P. We could also do, for that matter, S-T-R-P. And so we could go through T instead. We're trying to make the fewest stops, so I don't think we want to go through F because we can get to T directly. We could do something a little bit weird. We could go S to T to Q to P. So again, this track is blocked for us, but if we went S to T to Q to P, that would also get us there in 2 intermediate stops. Are there any other possibilities? STRP, SURP, S. So if we tried something like SURGQP or something, that's too many stops. So I think that's it. I think it's just those 3. Now they asked us we must pass through blank. F, no, F isn't on any of our lists. G isn't on any of our lists. Q or T? No, because this first setup we didn't need to pass through either Q or T. Q or U or both? Q or U or both? No. R or T or both? Yes, very good. We must see R or T or both on all of these paths. And so 18 is E. Moving right along, number 19, if a 6th subway line is to be constructed so that all of the stations would have 2 or more lines reaching them, the stations connected by the new subway line must include at least blank 2 or more lines reaching them. So not just connections to other stations, but actually 2 or more lines. Well, let's see who we can mark off. T already has 2 lines, S already has 2 lines, U already has 2 lines, Q already has 2 lines, oh, and R already has multiple lines. But P is only on line 1, G is only on line 4, and F is only on line 1. So if we were to do a new line to get these stations connected to more than one line, well, it would have to be those stations, F, P, and G. We have an answer, F, B, and G. Yes, answer choice A. 19 is A. Okay. Just 3 more questions here, general questions. Hopefully the diagram is going to help us. One thing that occurs to me now, another weird thing about this game, we didn't really have deductions necessarily. We just kind of built the diagram. Normally your general questions, you're hoping to utilize deductions, but in this case, again, we pretty much only have the map. Number 14, how many different stations are there that a traveler starting at R could reach by using the subway lines without making any intermediate stops? Okay, pretty straightforward here. R connects to 1, 2, 3, 4 other stations without any stops in between. And so that should be answer choice C. 14 is C. 15, in order to go from G to S, taking the fewest possible subway lines and making the fewest possible stops. So fewest lines and fewest possible stops. A traveler must stop at blank. Let's see, G to S. If we're going to get G to S, we could go G to Q to U to S. That's one possibility. I'm going to jot that down. G to Q to U to S. We could just as easily do G to Q to T to S, but hold on a second. G to Q to U to S only takes 2 lines. The line 4 that G has to be on, and then the line 1. So that's 2 lines. But G to Q to T to S would be 3 lines. So actually, I don't want that one because I want the fewest possible lines. Even if I did something like G to R to T to S, actually now that I think about it, that previous one, G to Q to T to S, that was actually 3 different, wait, is that what we said? 3 different lines? 1, 2, yeah, never mind. And again, if I tried something like G to R to T to S, that's line 4 for G to R, line 1 for R to T, line 2 for T to S, G, P, G, F, I think it's gotta be either Q or U, and C. Q is an answer choice, so 15 is C. And then finally, number 17, in order to go by subway from F to G, the minimum number of intermediate stops a traveler must make. Let's see, F to G. Well, if we went up here to T, that's 1, 2 intermediate stops to get to G. Can we do any better than 2? F to T to Q to G would be the same thing. That's 2. I don't see how we only get there with 1 in between, so that answer must be 2. Answer choice C. All right, so what have we got? C, C, A, C, E, A. Kakakia. Kakakia. C, C, A, C, E, A. Got them all right. Kakakia. There we are. Again, some principles to take away for the future. For weird games, look for a specific question to kind of get you into the game and figure out what's going on. If it's not obvious what the elements are, either the elements aren't going to matter or the specific question is going to help you realize how the elements matter or what the elements actually are supposed to be. Again, this one turned out to be basically a mapping game, which used to be a lot more common than they are, so I wouldn't really worry about this popping up on the test nowadays. But it is always possible, and again, it's nice to be able to work with a kind of weird game. So there you have it, PrepTest 18, third game. PrepTest 18, fourth game, even weirder. Possibly the weirdest game I've ever seen. That will be coming next, so subscribe if you want to see that. Like this video if it was helpful, and otherwise I will see y'all next time.